Hi, this is Joe. Thanks for coming back for another video. Sorry I've been away for a little while. For the last week and a half I've been fighting the flu. So what I have here is I blew a fuse in my Klein multimeter, and I wanted to go through with you on how I troubleshooted that. The symptoms were not really obvious to what the problem was. So let me show you how I troubleshooted the meter and what I came up with as far as which fuse was bad. I have my power supply on. I have my variable load on, and we're set just about 0.15 or 150 milliamps. I have the meter in line with the variable load, and if you look on the meter, we're reading 0.130 or 130 milliamps, which is a little bit off, but the difference between my power supply is reading about 129, the meter is reading about 130, so it looks like the variable load is off a little bit. So if you notice, the meter is set to amps, and the red lead is in the amp post on the meter. I've changed the positive lead and placed it in the milliamp microamp connector. Now, by taking the selector switch and going between milliamp and microamp, you notice we're not getting any readings whatsoever. We're also getting no current reading on the variable load or on the power supply. Again, being that the meter leads are in line, we're not getting any measurements whatsoever. This is sort of strange because at the beginning when I had it on the amperage setting, we were getting readings and somewhat accurate readings, but yet when I switched the lead to the microamp milliamp setting and changed the selector switch, now we're not getting any readings whatsoever, and no current is flowing through the variable load. So let's go ahead and take the meter apart and let me show you what I found out. I have the back pulled off my Klein meter, and I pulled one of the fuses out. I'm using my other meter on continuity. So if I touch one fuse, we're getting a good reading, so that means the fuse is good. You notice that fuse is bad. So interesting, this fuse is rated at 100 amps. But the interesting thing about this is that the amperage reading was working on the meter, but not the milliamp or microamp. So that sort of threw me a little bit. Why would the amperage reading work, but not the milliamp or microamp? So I don't know exactly which fuse is controlling which set of probe connectors on the meter, but it's obvious the other fuse is working with the amperage rating, or the other fuse is working with the microamp and milliamp setting. So I have the new fuse. Let's go ahead and test it for continuity. The new fuse is good. Let's go ahead and put it in the meter. Let's reassemble the meter, and then let's perform our tests again. We have the meter back assembled together, and we have the variable load set up at 150 milliamps. We have the meter lead on the amp slot. On the red lead, we have the selector switch set to amps, and we're reading 0.130, 0.131, so about 130 milliamps. So let's go ahead now and change the meter lead to the microamps milliamp setting. And now let's change our selector and select DC. And you notice now we're reading 132, 131 milliamps, 0.15 amps or 150 milliamps on the variable load. And we have 131 milliamps, approximately 131.5, and on the power supply we have 0.130. So we're pretty close. Changing the fuse, we're now able to read in milliamps and amps. If I switch to microamps and go to DC, the reading apparently is too high for the microamps. But by switching back to milliamps and going to DC, we're now reading appropriate. So just by changing that one fuse, we were able to recover and read on the amp setting, the milliamp setting, and no reading on the microamp setting. But we were able to still read the amperage on the variable load, which before, when the fuse was bad, we were not making any contact through the circuit at all. Just to show you some strangeness that was occurring. It wasn't really obvious what the problem was, other than that the milliamp setting was not working, but yet the amp setting was. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully this will shed a little bit of light on how to determine if you have a blown fuse in your multimeter. We'll see you next time.